gentlemen, as always, I'm your host, Airsoft, and welcome to another Media Reviews. Recently, I was looking around on Wattpad, seeing what stories catch my eye. I came across one called, well, I can't exactly pronounce it, but it's basically an Enclave story, which is a Fallout X Ruby fanfiction, and the last one I believe we reviewed was Rose Over a Shallow Grave, which followed the exploits of the Ruby crew as they venture forth through the Mojave Wasteland. However, unlike other Enclave X Ruby stories, which can be found in fanfiction.net and of course other places, this one, the Enclave, actually travels to Remnant and help out the Faunus, and even create a sort of republic of sorts. I know many of you have already got question marks and have already started asking how. Let me just go ahead and give an abbreviated summary of how this came to be. The Enclave we're following is the Enclave from the America Rising mod from Fallout 4, which is also pretty good. But the majority of them are from the Enclave remnants of Fallouts 2 and 3. Complicated, I know, but believe me, that's the beginning of it. I don't want to spoil much. What you're here for, the meat of it, is exactly how did the Enclave come to ally themselves with the Faunus? How is it this relationship came to be? Well, this happened because the Coaco, basically the capital of the Faunus homeland, was under attack by Grimm. The Enclave appeared on Remnant via the Institute teleportation technology and left a little parting gift for most of their enemies back home. The ending to that is actually rather fitting, to say the least, and how the vaults came back into use. But that's just how it is. But either way, though, the way the story actually starts is that Colonel Autumn, along with General Wade, and even Colonel Autumn's grandson, yes, grandson, Shane, has a role to play in this world. They ally themselves with the Faunus and create a new republic. Even basically Blake's father, becoming the president who was elected. I would have loved to have seen who was running against him, in all honesty, but that's how it is. Basically, thanks to the Enclave working with them, human relationships with the Faunus actually have grown more. The city, the small, cramped island of a little village, grown into an actual pre-war city. Picture Boston before the bombs dropped, or the New California Republic after, or even Vault City, a good example from Fallout 2. The relationship is growing and is good. There's even a school named after, of course, the leader, the Belladonna School, and the uniform is basically based off of the Enclave officer uniform, but not as gray or depressing, to say the least. But things are not all lucky-go-happy, because, of course, war never changes. But how this takes place in terms of the timeline is this takes place before Season 1 of Ruby. As such, Blake still runs away from home to try and help her people out in the most misguided way possible. And then things get crazy. Atlas, General Ironwood, of course, having his military being used by a corrupt company, the SDC, the Schnee Dust Company, to recruit more workers for the dust mine. I say recruit in the loosest sense of the word because in reality they're going there to kidnap them. Well, that didn't go very well for them because they are immediately informed that they're in restricted airspace. Now, there are a number of ways you can react to this. Number one, you can react to this in a calm manner, just civilized, and kind of understand that you have entered into a country's airspace illegally. Number two, you can act as an arrogant bastard and get all your men killed. Which one do you think this moron did? If you chose number two, then you're correct. The idiot actually orders his men forward, and the airship immediately comes under attack by pre-war designed jet fighters, and immediately is shot down, the airship crashing into the forest, thankfully outside the city. And the way this can go, I see happening, is one of two ways. Number one, Atlas, of course, getting a kick. Atlas immediately realizing that they basically unintentionally declared war on a sovereign nation. Using the media to their advantage, they will then begin to spin this. And if there's one thing the Enclave is good at, it's propaganda. At which point in time, they will paint Atlas as the aggressors, coming in to kidnap their own sovereign people, treading on the Republic's laws, their rights, their constitution, etc., etc., etc. They're basically stoking up the flames and embers for war. Now, obviously, the more neutral and level-headed nations of Remnant are going to try and prevent a war from breaking out. Ironwood, seeing this, is going to literally do all he can to have a war not happen, because they don't want another war. They don't need another global war, for that matter. And basically doing all he can to make sure that the Atlas Council does not do something extremely stupid, but letting Jacques Schnie do something stupid, which Jacques Schnie's stupidity is going to align itself into a war with Atlas. At which point in time, they will find out that power armor is pretty damn good. Now that's option number one, and whether or not a war could be prevented. Option number two is Atlas goes full on in like the Chinese in Anchorage during the Sino-American War, during the Resource Wars, immediately attempting to invade the Faunus homeland, but instead being routed and a counter-invasion happening against their own assets and territories, causing a global conflict to unite and or neutral countries to stay neutral in this conflict. Now, whether or not this is going to happen and how this shapes the world as a whole is completely up in the air. But seeing how the author's going with this story, the first option is possible, where they're going to try and de-escalate instead of escalate the conflict. But that does not mean that there isn't going to be some form of assassination, subterfuge, or even political intrigue and espionage. That right there is going to be fun in of itself. And I look forward to it, in my opinion. But overall, the timeline is actually really well thought out, the story setup is good, and this story is definitely going to be on my radar for days to come. But if you guys want to check out the story for yourself, there's a link in the pinned comment down below. And if you want to come join me, and hopefully the author sees this video and comes join us as well, in the Discord that I am in, as well as many other fanfiction authors that I have reviewed. And if you want to help support the channel and even do your own requests or sponsor reviews for future fanfictions, then consider donating to our PayPal down below. As always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Airsoft Owl, and next time, a PayPal-sponsored review of one of 4 stories that have been requested. This one being a G.I. Joe and Halo crossover. And all I can say is, Yo, Joe! Till next time.